get into our show that is called Real Shame. It's a show where us two guys, watch movies from our movie list of shame or movie blind spots, basically movies that we probably should have seen, haven't seen until now, and then we're telling you all about them. I'm Adam.
I'm Andy.
Earlier in the week, Andy paired this movie with another movie that's about a young lady meddling in people's lives. And Andy decided to pair that with another movie that kind of was another take on that. And I'm going to have him tell you all about it.
Yeah, Monday we were in France. Today we're in England. A young woman living in England seeks to better the lives of those around her. But what about her own happiness? The happiness of this young lady called Emma.
Emma bears it well, but she is most sorry to lose Miss Taylor.
We would not like Emma so well as we do if she did not miss her friend.
Thank you.
I shall miss her so. I do not know what I shall do without her.
She's not far.
Almost half a mile.
Her obligations are there now. She cannot sit and talk with me in the old way, or walk with me, or urge me to better myself.
Well, that should not matter, as you always did just as you please.
Yes, but I shall miss her urging me.
So Emma came out in 1996. It is written and directed by Douglas McGrath. Douglas McGrath was both an actor and a director and screenwriter. I think I read that he co-wrote Bullets Over Broadway with Woody Allen. He also directed Nicholas Nickleby, which is an adaptation of a Charles Dickens novel and stars Charlie Hunnam, Jax himself from Sons of Anarchy. Emma is based on of course, the Jane Austen novel from 1815. Man, that book's old.
Damn, she's an old girl.
Yeah, over 200 years old at this point. So Emma stars Gwyneth Paltrow as the titular Emma Woodhouse. Also, Toni Collette as Harriet Smith. Jeremy Northam plays George Knightley. Ewan McGregor. Yeah, Ewan McGregor. It is weird because Ewan McGregor was also Trainspotting the same year.
Yeah.
He's in Trainspotting and Emma. So those couldn't be further apart.
He's doing his best Johnny Depp as a Mad Hatter in this movie.
Well, and the other thing that's interesting is the guy that plays his father in Emma plays his father in Trainspotting.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I forgot his name. Cosmo's his last name. He plays Frank Churchill. I didn't bother to write him down. He didn't have a big enough part for me to include him in the cast. He actually has a decent part, but I didn't include him for whatever. Alan Cumming plays Philip Elton, and Greta Scacchi, I think she still misses Vincent D'Onofrio. Maybe. Right? Is that right? Plays Ann Taylor Weston. I could be completely wrong about that. I'm probably talking out of my butt here. But anyway, so Emma is a movie that I've seen one time before. I actually saw it when it came out in 1996, probably on video or something like that. So roughly around that time. But this is a movie that you have not seen or you have seen?
Never seen.
Okay, so never seen Emma, but you obviously are aware of the Jane Austen novel, and you know that you know that it was adapted with the Anya Taylor-Joy.
I'm not in
a few years ago.
I'm not in the Jane Austen book club.
Not in the Jane Austen book club.
Is that the name of the movie?
There's a book called there's a movie called Jane Austen.
Yeah, I'm not in the Jane Austen book club. I have not read a Jane Austen novel. I have not seen a Jane Austen adaptation. I haven't seen Sense and Sensibility. I haven't seen Pride and Prejudice.
Oh, you haven't seen any of that stuff. Oh, no. Man.
This is my first foray into
do a whole month on that stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I've never, to be fair, I've seen some of those, but I've never read a Jane Austen novel. I probably should, but I was never assigned one in school.
She only had like 4 novels or 5 novels. It seemed like her.
But they're all bangers apparently, because they're all adapted into multiple screen and probably play adaptations.
And it seems like because I was reading a little bit about Jane Austen, like her writing style was more kind of talking about like the hypocrisy and more like satire of this kind of well-to-do, polite society kind of things.
Yeah.
And all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, totally. All right, so you never read Emma.
That's right.
Never seen any Jane Austen adaptations.
That's right.
So you're a Jane Austen newbie.
Yes.
Delving into the world of Jane Austen. And after Emma, are you a Jane Austen fan or nah?
I actually think I am.
Yeah?
I was really kind of worried watching this movie when it started out because I was like, I don't think I'm going to like this movie.
I'm not the target audience.
Yeah, I'm not the target audience. Like the whole milieu and everything just seemed a little bit off-putting. But, and it takes a while for you to, it takes a while for you to warm up to Emma, I believe, and I believe Emma's supposed to not quite be a likable character. Like she kind of has her own machinations and wants to dig into other people's affairs, and she's kind of like this element of, I don't know if chaos, but she's kind of this thing that mixes up everything. So she's like a not a solvent, but she just kind of goes in there and applies like uh, pressure and changes the status quo and stuff like that. And so it took me a while to kind of understand that and understand that, you know, you're not supposed to like her. But I think overall I really kind of like this movie. I found it fun and interesting, and I ended up getting pulled in and started caring about, you know, the Woodhouse and all the people going on and everything that's going on in the polite society, and the will they, won't they, do they like me, do they don't like me, he loves me not. We saw that with the flowers the scene and all that.
Yeah.
So I thought that was all cool and interesting, and ultimately I really liked it. I don't think it's kind of plain, the movie, like it feels very TV-ish the way it's shot, but I think it's well written and it's easy for, you know, a dummy like me to kind of follow along and see what's going on. So
A dummy like me too.
yeah. So I kind of overall liked it. I'm actually interested to see some other adaptations of it and see if they have the same charm and everything. But yeah, I kind of liked it. I actually enjoyed watching this movie a lot.
I'm very glad that you feel that way.
So I'm gonna pass that on to you before we get into any deeper. What did you? So you said you've seen it once. Do you remember what your impressions of it after seeing it that one time?
Yeah, I liked it. I think that this came out. I think the Sense and Sensibility that has Emma Thompson and Kate Winslet. I think that came out in '95, maybe. So I think I'd already seen that before I saw this. So that was probably my first exposure to Jane Austen. Again, since I haven't read any of Jane Austen's novels, I think that was my first exposure to Jane Austen writing or characters and story. And I liked Sense and Sensibility. I probably haven't seen it since then. This movie I liked as well. I thought, oh, it's Jane Austen.
Yeah.
She's really got something. She's got some talent, that gal.
200 years later.
Yeah, 200 years later, yeah. But yeah, so I liked Emma back then, and I'm happy to report I still like it now. I totally agree with you. I mean, I feel like it's a little bit rough going at the beginning just because you don't kind of know what you're getting into, and it takes a little bit for the story to kind of develop. But once you start to get to know these characters, particularly obviously Emma's character, and kind of know what she's all about, she does have her heart in the right place. But she obviously
terrible at it.
blunders some things. Yeah, she feels like she's a much better matchmaker than she actually is.
The saying is she gets out over her skis a little bit.
She does. But no, I like this movie. I also agree with you. I don't think there's anything that sets this movie apart filmically, you know, as far as like the style or anything like that. And honestly, I watched it streaming on Vudu because I have a digital copy of it. And man, they need to remaster this stuff.
It was grainy, wasn't it?
It's well, for me, it just looked like a not VHS bad, but it just looked really washed out. It looked very drab, and I don't know that that's the actual look of it. I mean, I feel like it's got to look better than that, right? Yeah. Maybe. But it looked very, very drab, and so I agree with you. I feel like the whole thing had like a TV look to it. So I don't know if it just needs a good 4K version or something whipped into shape, because I think it has a Blu-ray version. But you know, I watched it streaming. But it was kind of ugly to look at, honestly. But as far as Gwyneth Paltrow as the titular character, I love saying the word titular, don't you?
Yeah.
As far as she goes, I feel like she is a nicer Emma than like the Anya Taylor-Joy version, because I watched that one. Okay. Yeah, I watched that one whenever a few years ago. I think it came out in 2020, so I watched it sometime between now and then. I definitely didn't see it in the theater. I feel like she is a little bit more calculating and like colder, for lack of a better description. I feel like Gwyneth Paltrow's character, you never dislike her because she's again, she has her heart in the right place. The meanest thing she does is when she insults her friend, where she's like, "Oh, you're going to only be limited to 3 dull things," like, because you know, implying that she's extremely dull, because she is. But still, it's mean to say that.
Yeah,
That's
you don't
probably
say
the
that.
meanest thing that she does in the movie. But overall, I'd say she is very kind-hearted and generous. She just mucks it all up, right? She cannot be a good matchmaker like she thinks. But even Jane Austen described Emma as a fairly unlikable protagonist.
Yeah.
So Jane Austen was aware of what she was doing. But we've seen Gwyneth Paltrow in several movies now. Contagion, although she doesn't last long in that film. Sky Captain of the World of Tomorrow, Shakespeare in Love, which came out after this, a couple years after this. And I think it's fashionable now to really kind of hate on Gwyneth Paltrow because of the things that she's done outside of film. Goop and all that kind of stuff.
She's kind of, it seems like she's drank her own Kool-Aid.
Yeah, but I will say, I mean, back in
The
this
90s?
this side of this time period, Seven and all the movies that she did kind of in the 90s, I have no problems. And again, I'm not saying I have a problem with her outside of that. Now, I really honestly don't give much thought to Gwyneth Paltrow, honestly. But I mean, I would say, in this era, she's definitely a likable heroine and a likable actress.
Yeah,
as well.
she's affable. She can carry a movie.
Yeah,
and she's carried movies. So yeah, I agree with you.
And I don't think her, because in Shakespeare in Love the same way, I don't think her British accent is bad. Like I don't listen to her and go like she's terrible.
Yeah, you have a better ear for that than I do.
And it's interesting again to see kind of Ewan McGregor before he played Obi-Wan and all that kind of stuff. And Toni Collette, this is a fairly obviously she had done movies in Australia, but she wasn't super well known to American audiences. It would take The Sixth Sense a few years after this before she would be like. Psh.
And I feel like this is definitely not something you would think of Toni Collette being in. I feel like she plays more real, like, kind of things. Not like this. Although she was in Hereditary, so maybe that
Man, Hereditary is crazy. Yeah, well, all the stuff Toni Collette has done since this movie, she's done just so much, so many different characters. I love Jeremy Northam's character. I like the Knightley character.
Yeah.
He's just a cool, suave guy.
He's a perfect match, and he brings enough to the table where you're like, she's an idiot for not wanting to date him and be married to him and all that kind of stuff, right? And you kind of don't know what you kind of think they're friends a little bit, but then you kind of learn that he actually does have feelings for her, and so yeah, I think he's great. I wish, I don't feel like I've seen Jeremy Northam in a lot of stuff, but I do think he brings a lot to this movie.
Definitely. And another thing I like about this film is not that I want to jump into a time machine and travel back to this era or anything like that, because I'm too attached to my electronic devices and other things, the modern conveniences that we have nowadays, toilets and things of that nature, running water, all that stuff, electricity.
You're not going to pull a Cain Leopold?
No, but I do enjoy seeing movies like this from time to time where it's just a simpler time, and I'll put that in quotes because I only mean that in the sense that you don't have like tons and tons of distractions and things like that. Times when the idea of having a good time meant going outside on a picnic and playing a little game where you named some things. It's it's just very simplistic as far as that goes. It's kind of fun to see that.
If you were rich and white, it would have been wonderful to be out there.
Yes.
And
sure,
I agree.
yes. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a solid comedy of manners. I feel like that's how they describe this novel and this movie. But I think it works, and apparently you do too.
I do.
Yeah,
I actually would want to see. I want to see more Jane Austen actually because of this. Like I feel like I'm going to go against the male stereotype, and I'm actually on board for some more Jane Austen.
Well, we'll have to watch Pride and Prejudice, and we'll also have to watch Pride and Prejudice and Zombies.
Yeah, I think that's a match made in heaven right there. It's like our Battleship Potemkin thing.
Yes. So if you have seen Clueless, if you haven't seen Emma, but you've seen Clueless, you've seen Emma.
I have seen Emma.
Because Clueless is a loose adaptation. It actually came out a year before this in 1995. Clueless is a loose, modern adaptation of Emma, and you definitely will see, because I've seen Clueless. I've seen Clueless several times, but I've seen it fairly recently.
Yeah.
And watching this, I definitely could see, the parallels.
Yeah. That's cool.
Which I haven't necessarily noticed before. But what's interesting about this movie, Emma, is that it came out in 1996. It was also I think, British TV adaptation that came out in 1996 of Emma. So you got a double dose of Emma that year if you so chose to watch. The TV adaptation has Kate Beckinsale as Emma.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. I have not seen it, so I cannot comment on how it stacks up against the movie version starring Gwyneth Paltrow. Obviously, Kate Beckinsale is British, so she didn't have to put on a fake accent to play Emma. And as we mentioned, there is the 2020 adaptation. There's several other adaptations, but these are I'm not going to list them all. There's a 2020 adaptation starring Anya Taylor-Joy.
All right.
Which I think I may have mentioned that here on Real Shame. It's kind of like this. It started off and I was like, but it definitely got better as it went along.
Cool.
Yeah, so I feel like the 2020 adaptation is also pretty good. But I feel like the characterization of Emma is a little bit icier and a little bit, not meaner, that I don't think I would say that, but just a little bit icier than Emma is in this film. So it's kind of interesting to see the difference there. This movie was nominated for Best Costume Design, but it lost to The English Patient. And it was nominated for Best Original Score, and it won Best Original Score. Rachel Portman was the composer. She won. So it won one single solitary Oscar out of 2 nominations. But hey, good job, Rachel. And it's 84% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, 77% audience. 2 thumbs up from Siskel and Ebert. And Leonard Maltin gives it 3 out of 4 stars.
And 2 thumbs up from us.
And 2 thumbs up from us, yes.
That's right.
It's a good, solid movie.
All right. Well, anything else on Emma?
That is all, sir.
All right. Well, that's our thoughts on Emma. On these Wednesday episodes, we always like to answer viewers' questions. So we picked one that has to do with the movie we're reviewing today. And it is, what are our favorite movies that have Gwyneth Paltrow in it?
Yeah.
She is, known for, I think later now, being Pepper Potts in the Marvel MCU.
Mm-hmm.
So I would probably, Endgame's an amazing movie, but she's in it for like 2 seconds. So, and same with Infinity War. So I'm probably going to exclude the MCU appearances with her from that.
As am I.
Even though she's in a bigger role in Iron Man 3, but I'm not a fan of Iron Man 3. Any shout outs? Any runners up for you? I got at least 2, I think.
I will say all of the movies that we have watched with Gwyneth Paltrow on the show, I think so far, I like.
Yep, I believe that is an accurate statement.
So I will say that. And that would be Sky Captain, Emma, Shakespeare in Love, and Contagion. Although, again, she doesn't last very long in Contagion.
Yes, correct. I want to call out, she's in Dogma, which I like. It's Kevin Smith as uncredited role. So very tiny. Probably doesn't warrant listing that as a favorite of mine, but I do like that movie. And also, she's in 7. I don't think is her role in 7 very big. I know she's kind of,
It's not huge.
Yeah.
But, she definitely has more scrang time than she does in, like, Contagion.
They kind of box her in a little bit in that role.
They do box her in just a bit in 7. You're right.
Maybe that was a terrible joke. But yeah, that's all I kind of wanted to call out. I see 2 movies on here that I know you're a big fan of. I'm wondering which one you're going to choose between. So should I go first, and you can leave me in suspense?
You go first, sure.
Mine is a movie that you mentioned and a movie we reviewed on the podcast. I am actually going to go with Shakespeare in Love. I really, really, really enjoyed that movie when we watched it. I believe that's what I said. I don't think that's time.
I remember you being enthusiastic about it, and I agree. I like that movie.
So I think that's awesome. She has a really good meaty role in it. I would actually put Emma up there with Shakespeare in Love. I like this movie too. I think, like you said, the late 90s Gwyneth Paltrow, she was just knocking them out of the park. So
on fire.
So for me, it's of everything on the list, I'm where she had a meaty role, I'm going with Shakespeare in Love.
Nice.
What about you, my friend?
So I gotta ask, what are the 2 movies that it's between? For me?
Pallbearer and Heart 8 are the 2 that I figured. I don't remember having a big role in Heart 8. But it's been a while since I've seen Heart 8.
So I thought you were gonna say Pallbearer and Royal Tenenbaums.
Oh, was she in Royal Tenenbaums?
Yeah. So Hard Eight, I've only seen once, and I don't remember a whole lot about it. That's a PTA film that I've only seen actually one time.
I've seen it once also.
Yeah, I do remember liking it, but it's been so long since I've seen it. It would come down between two movies, and it would be, like I say, Paul Bearer and Royal Tenenbaums. But I feel like I've picked Paul Bearer for a few different answers. I know I picked it for something that we did not too long ago, I feel like. So I'm going to go with the other one, which is Wes Anderson's Royal Tenenbaums, which is a film that I really, really, really like. I know you're not a big fan of Wes Anderson.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm the type of person that I like a lot of his early films, and as his career has gone on, I have been less enthusiastic about his more recent kind of output. But like Rushmore and Royal Tenenbaums, those first few films, I'm a big fan of, and Royal Tenenbaums definitely would be my favorite.
I'm trying to remember if I've seen Royal Tenenbaums. I know I've seen Rushmore. I feel like I've seen Royal Tenenbaums. I feel like I need to watch Bottle Rocket. And maybe
you haven't seen Bottle Rocket.
Maybe Bottle Rocket will sway me onto Wes Anderson, because that seems to be the most non-Wes Anderson movie.
It's not nearly as quirky or whatever as his films would become, for sure. There's still hints of it there, but I feel like it's much more non-Wes Anderson than his other films.
I probably need to revisit those movies, because I think I saw... When did I see Royal Tenenbaums? I saw Royal Tenenbaums like 20 years ago or something like that. And, I've grown a little bit since then, matured a little bit. Maybe it will hit me a little bit different. But back then I was just like, this guy loves himself. He's up his own butt. I don't like it. All right, but I don't begrudge you for liking Royal Tenenbaums or calling that out. All right. I can't. So that's our favorite Gwyneth Paltrow movies. Let us know what your favorite Gwyneth Paltrow movie is. Is it one we mentioned? Maybe it's Great Expectations. She was in another novel adaptation of Charles Dickens, not directed by Douglas McGrath. So maybe it's that. Let us know. I remember that being a big thing. And didn't it have like Portishead on the soundtrack?
Yeah, it had a pretty good soundtrack.
It had that, what song is Portishead? It's something Times.
Sour Times?
Sour Times, yeah. I think it had Sour Times, like either in the trailer or in the soundtrack and all that kind of stuff. So let us know what your favorite Gwyneth Paltrow movie is. Leave a comment down below. We really do appreciate it. While you're down there, please hit that like and subscribe button. Like and subscribe. Do all that social media stuff. It really does help spread the word, and we really do appreciate it. And it actually does help a whole lot. Stay tuned next week as we knock some movies off of this guy's list of shame. Andy, and we'll see you soon, guys. Have a good one. Bye.